All right, hi class, welcome back. All right, I hope you had a great break. I hope everyone is well rested and feels great about getting back to learning and getting back to visual communication. So this week we're getting into one of my favorite things to talk about, and I have a feeling a lot of you are going to enjoy this. The two assignments. These two assignments are joined together. They're 50 points for each. I have them listed as one 100-point project, but you'll see it's a report that details the artifact that you're going to create over the next 2 weeks as a representation of visual communication in culture. All right, so I'm going to start off by reading the kind of introduction to both. It's almost the exact same paragraph, first two paragraphs that lead you into your assignments this week, and that's because it's just kind of an overview. So I'm going to read for that and then expand a little bit, and then we'll talk about what exactly we need to get done over the next couple weeks, and also about some of the materials that I posted to Canvas. So cultural expression research project is what you're doing. Now it has two parts. It has the research project has a report, and it also has a tourism advertisement, which I'm going to talk about now. So much of our visual world is dominated by culture, right? So when we talk about culture, it's, if you're Chinese, that's part of your culture. But we have smaller cultures in that, right? So being from Beijing and being a Beijinger is different than being from, Guangzhou or something, right? And so each one of those, despite having an overall culture of Chinese, they have other cultures. And so we need to choose what culture that we're going to be looking at and talking about aside from our own, but also be thinking about a Chinese culture or a Chinese city or region, perhaps where you're from, or perhaps a place that you want to go to that you would like to do some research on, because that's what's going to be we're going to be talking about. And how we do research on culture is looking into what people do, in their everyday life, what they do for fun, their flags and symbols and colors. And I've given you some resources to kind of start to look at places where you can kind of get an understanding of this. And, maybe there's a country that you really want to visit in the world. And this is a good way to kind of start to get some information about that country as well. Or it doesn't have to be a country. It could be a people like the Kurds or, I don't know, anybody else who doesn't have their own nation state, right? It could be a region. If you are looking at a region of China, right? China's a great big place. So Southeast China or something like that, or, I don't know. But what we're looking for is tourism, right? And so you're going to essentially be creating, you're going to be pretending that you belong to the board or the Ministry of Tourism for your Chinese city or region that you want people from another country to come visit, and you're going to tell them why it's so great, but you're also going to build in some information that makes them want to come there, that makes things seem similar, or things that people would want to visit in that area. And so that'll be some of the research as well. So you're going to hear me say culture a bunch in this video. That's what we mean by culture, right? All the stuff around us. So much of our visual world is dominated by culture. We have ideas of what it means to be a certain category of human, like Americans or Chinese or Africans or whatever else, right? What it means to belong to a specific culture, right? In order to belong to a culture, we have certain rituals and we have certain practices and languages and colors and dress and hairstyles and all kinds of things that we adhere to in order to actually be identified as part of that culture, right? So in order for us to belong to a specific one, we have all these things in these routines and these kind of visual things that we present. So culture and its visual components are critical addressing or critical for addressing a specific audience, right? So if you want to get your message across to somebody, you want them to think that it's coming from someone who is familiar and educated about who they are. And you do that by showing them that you understand something about their culture, all right? Colors, shapes, and symbols can carry strong and deep meaning for people or peoples. So visual communication scholars, it's our duty to analyze and translate these visual elements so that advertisers or marketers or, governments who need to talk to other governments or trade, business things or helping people or getting aid to different places and stuff like that. If we don't understand the culture of the people that we're trying to help or we're trying to work with or we're trying to communicate with, then we can do things that are highly offensive, right? One of the things that we're taught very early on and is a very big part of American culture is we look everyone in the eyes. And to lots of cultures, including Chinese culture, this is, not something that's very comfortable to stare at someone directly in the eyes while you speak to them. Particularly if you're, from an Asian country and you're talking to someone who is much older or much more powerful or, has some kind of hierarchy, right? We tend to want to look down. This is a little bit more comfortable. But we would consider that to be rude in America, right? If we're, we think it's we think people are being dishonest when they don't look us directly in the eye. Now, that doesn't mean right or wrong, right? You don't. These are just perceptions of culture. But if we don't understand this, then we have an opportunity, or a really unfortunate opportunity, to really do some harm where we're trying to do good, or to lose money where we're trying to make money, or to cause a war where we were trying to foster peace, right? And so, while we don't think about all the time the things that make our culture so unique and so interesting and so identifiable as ours, they are incredibly important in visual communication because this is what drives all of the useful things for communicating across cultures. So if you're going to grow up and stay in the exact same 10 feet or, a couple square miles that you were in your entire life, then culture is not a really big deal to you. But as communication professors, as educated people of the world, look, if you think you're only going to be doing business in China, you're wrong, right? China does business with everybody in the world just about. And so we need to understand where we're coming from. And that's what we're going to be looking for here is, now, sometimes this is stereotypical, right? When we think of Chinese people, we often think of red and the Chinese flag and the Chinese star. And that's not a stereotype, right? Because I'm not saying, oh, all Chinese people just love stars. They're crazy about stars. That would be a negative version of a stereotype. Instead, we can use things that are stereotypical assigned to our race or religion or people or nation, and use that as a way to actually communicate familiarity, right? Here in the United States, if I see someone wearing a lot of American flag stuff and they're covered in America stuff, unfortunately now it has a connotation that they're very much in support of our current president Trump, who I don't like. So if I saw somebody acting and covered in all of this American flag glasses and shirts and hats, and which you've probably seen pictures of people who dress like that, I tend to avoid those people. However, if I was in Turkey or if I was in China or in Beijing or something and I saw somebody dressed like that, I might think that they're a little bit crazy, but the familiarity of them being an American, I might go, "Oh, hey, fellow American, hi." Whereas if I saw them at my home at the grocery store, I would probably think, "What a crazy person," right? And so, while there are stereotypical images that sometimes can be offensive when they're making a simplistic understanding of the individual, they can be very powerful tools to communicate to people, particularly when we're talking about things. And for those of you who are looking more deeply into advertising, you'll notice advertising tends to, bring up a lot of stereotypes and kind of, bring into these kind of simplified versions of a people. Italian people all talk with their hands and like spaghetti. Chinese people, love rice and are incredibly hardworking. Americans are loud and, this type of thing, right? However, as an advertiser, if I have 15 seconds to create materials that you will identify with, I almost have no choice but to use the stereotypes that we all know and these kind of cultural understandings of what it means to be American or what it means to be this or that, right? And I'm going to use that to my advantage to kind of be like the person who's dressed in American flag gear in the middle of Beijing, the person that I'll actually wave to. Now, if I go up and talk to that person and realize they're a jerk and they love Donald Trump and for some reason they're in China, then I'm going to, have the same feelings about them if I was at home and saw them at the supermarket. But if I have no idea who they are, if I just see something familiar, I like it. I tend to go, oh, okay, that makes it easy. Now, this can lead to problems if you only do that, right? You can lead to sexism and racism and all kinds of different isms. But the reality is that in visually communicating culture, we have things that we all know about. So don't shy away from them just because they may be more stereotypical. But remember, this should never be negative, right? We shouldn't be saying, people who are of Muslim descent or Middle Eastern descent are terrorists or something, right? That's a horrific stereotype. The vast majority of Muslims are very, very peaceful human beings, right? Only Islamic extremists and terrorists, are the people that you need to be concerned with. So, using Islamic themes and stuff like that might be of a benefit to you, but, obviously something negative about that culture you would never use, right? You would not want to bring up and make influences that, all Americans are stupid or loud or overweight or something like that, right? So, when this is kind of the soup that we live in, right? This is what culture is. We don't necessarily know. We think that every human is this way until we meet other humans from outside of our culture, and then we go, oh, what are they wearing on their head, or what are they doing, right? Or, oh, they grow facial hair, or they have long hair, or they do this. One of my favorite stories from China was in Inner Mongolia, when a little kid said to his mother that he thought my head was upside down because he'd never seen someone with all of their hair on the bottom of their face and none of the hair on the top of their face, right? And so culturally, he had never been exposed to, a white person probably, but someone like me who looks like me in particular, it was just absolutely baffling to him. He thought that my head was upside down, right? And that's why exposure and seeing other places and learning about other things is so important, because then when we encounter other human beings, we don't have these reactions, right? That can be incredibly negative. Now, he was a kid, and that's adorable, and it's hilarious and incredibly sweet because he's a child. But if he was a businessman and he came in and looked at me like this and said, "What is wrong with your head? What is wrong with you?" I don't want to give this person money. I don't want to be in business with them. Or if they were trying to help me or give me, something, then this would become a barrier, right? So we want to pay attention to the things that actually, to the way in which that cultures speak about themselves, not how others speak about a culture, not what others think of a person, right? Now, when we think of Italy, Americans think of spaghetti and they think of noodles, but noodles are a Chinese invention. And as a Chinese person, maybe you don't associate Italy with noodles, but Americans do. And so, if you're speaking to Americans about pasta, you may have to make an inference to Italy, or it's a good opportunity to say, "Hey, did you know that actually most Americans think that pasta originated in Italy, but in fact it comes from China?" And as an American, they will probably go, "Oh my gosh, that's very interesting." We love trivia and little factoid pieces of information, right? It's part of who we are. But you know very well what it means to be Chinese and what it means to be from your culture. And so I want you to, or what it means to be Beijing or be a Beijinger or whatever culture you want. But I want you to find a culture. I want you to talk about a culture that you're familiar with, that you're trying to get people from that country to come visit. And so you want to be speaking to them as though you are familiar with who you are and you understand their culture. So to do that, you got to do the research. All right. So the color, shapes, symbols can carry strong and deep meaning for people or people. So as visual communication scholars, like I said, our duty is to analyze and translate these visual images, okay? And then if we're the person who is creating it, we are reconstructing after we've already deconstructed and found all of the information. Now we're going to take these elements ourselves, and using Photoshop, we are going to create an advertisement for tourism to come to your area of China. So as I say in the instructions here, what better way to blend visual understanding of cultures than to create a tourism advertisement, inviting another culture to experience a Chinese city or region of your choice? You will be pretending to work for the local Ministry of Tourism or the board, or I'm not sure of how that works in each place in China, or over the region of the city in China of your choice. Feel free to use your hometown or perhaps your city you want to visit and would like to do some research on. So you got to find out about why people would want to go there. One of the things that you can start looking for is you want to find out, let's say that you are very interested in Mexican people in Mexico. All right. So people visiting from Mexico, and you're trying to attract people from Mexico to come visit China. So what are some of the things that might be of appealing to them, right? So obviously, if you live in Beijing, you're going to be very near the Great Wall. And everyone who comes to China, one of the, almost everywhere in the world, one of the things that we all know and want to see is the Great Wall. It's one of the most spectacular accomplishments of any human or any humans on the planet. And so that's something of interest, right? Now, if you're live by the Yangtze River, this is something else that's very popular. Perhaps you live in a beautiful area for shopping or something like that. What you want to find out is how many Mexican people are currently coming to China and where do they go and why do they go? What do they go when they are there? And then the more that you learn about the Mexican culture, you might go, oh, if you find out where else they travel to and things that they like, when Mexican people travel for beaches, they tend to go to South America, right? Well, China, I can tell you as a Westerner, China is not a place that I think of beautiful beaches, right? China is a huge country, and I'm positive that China has thousands of beautiful beaches that people would want to visit. But when we think of traveling to China, most people think of seeing, pagodas or, going to the mountains or looking at the Great Wall or visiting, I don't know, countrysides or old country or, these types of things. Most people don't think tropical, beautiful vacation, right? But there are beautiful tropical beaches all over China. So what is it that people may be looking for that they don't know that China has to offer, particularly your region? All of you are from some place that has the best something or other in the world. And maybe you fight over it. You have the best hot pot. No, we have the best hot pot here. Maybe you have the best milk tea. All of you think you have the best milk tea. Don't make it about milk tea. No one's going to travel for milk tea. It's just Chinese teenagers, now American teenagers, probably Western. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there is a travel market for milk tea, but you better be able to find me some data that supports that. So what you're doing is you're creating a really awesome tourism. Now, the other part of this that I want to make sure that you guys understand as far as the advertisement goes is you're going to choose a platform or media outlet that you're going to design your ad for. And if you're doing that, then you're on behalf. So I want you to also find me a news outlet or publication, either a website or a magazine or in print or a newspaper, whatever it is, that would actually have this ad in it, right? And I want you to give me an example, and then I want you to recreate almost an exact copy of what it would look like. So find, let's say, Condé Nast is a very famous travel magazine, Contenast. Condé Nast is a luxury travel magazine. Take a look at some of their pictures and those different things and look at some different magazines of travel or whatever and start to understand what the formatting of a tourism advertisement looks like. And then you're basically going to copy that, putting in the research that you put into your report. You will design your ad based on your outlet's format and audience, okay? So the format is, like I said, if you're using Condé Nast or if you're using Explorer or Travel Magazine or something like that, all of these magazines and websites are going to look similarly. And so I want you to copy their look and then put your own information in it. But additionally, I also want you to remember who is your audience. So you need to find and tell me in your report who are the most likely people in Mexico that would come to visit. Are they retirees? Are they over the age of 65? Are they between 50 and 60? Are they between the ages of 22 and 28? That type of stuff, right? So who actually are they? How old are they? What is their gender? Are they couples? Are they single? Are they divorcees? Whatever you can find. But you want to make sure that your advertisement is then also your tourism advertisement is driven directly to them. So you're showing me that you understand their culture, but also you understand something about them because of their age, their gender, and their travel habits, okay? You will include all the elements described in your Cultural Expression research report. So you're going to do the research to create the report. The report is going to end up only being on all of the elements that you use in your advertisement. So what I suggest is doing your research and taking notes, and then from your notes, creating the advertisement. Once you have it, finalize the report, putting all of the information, only the information that is actually on the advertisement that you're going to turn in, and explain to me why you chose every single element that is in that advertisement. You are free to steal or create anything you want. Take anything you want off the internet. If it says, try not to have anything that says stock photo all over it, edit that out if you can, or try and find a better image. please. Actually, don't even try. Don't. All right. I don't, but steal anything that you want, right? If it has like a little small thing that says, stock photo or something, that's okay. But what I don't want is Getty images plastered over top of the image. But take anything that you want from the internet, use whatever you want. We're not going to publish this, so don't worry about copyright or any of that stuff. Use whatever the heck you want. But you are going to need to design some of this in Adobe Photoshop. And so I'm going to show you a little tutorial next Wednesday on how to do that. All right. So next Wednesday's class session, we will have some kind of basic layout and design work done in Photoshop. All right. So you should have an explanation for every single design element that is included in your ad, including the fonts. All right. Choose fonts that actually make sense for what it is that you're trying to do. And I know you may not understand what that means right now, but that's what you're going to be studying over the next 2 weeks, and you will. As well as colors, okay? Not every color is appropriate for every culture, and that might seem strange, but as you continue reading your materials this week, you'll understand what I'm talking about. As well, explain the corresponding cultural relevance. Everything you have in there should have a cultural relevance, either to the area in China in which you want people to visit, or speaking to the country in which you will be presenting your advertisement. Think of this advertisement as showing up in all of the airports and all of the subways and all of the touristy areas of Paris and London, or whatever country that you're going for. They're all going to see it, right? All the Italians would see it, all the Americans will see it, or something like that. So you can use a very broad kind of understanding of that particular peoples as a whole. Okay, you don't need to you will need to refine down their age and stuff like that for what it is. But as far as like the cultural aspects of it go, you want to make sure that you're speaking to the entirety of the country, not just a region. So all of France, not just people from Paris or Parisians. Okay, your ad must look and feel real. So again, copy everything that you see. Just replicate what an already existing magazine structure looks like. I want you to show me that you can replicate that, and you can make your information and everything else, design, look exactly realistic. That would actually go into it. All right. As far as formatting for your advertisement, I want it 8.5 by 11, which is normal inches, which is a normal piece of paper at 150 ppi or DPI, saved as a JPEG file and uploaded to Canvas. On 10/22, I will be providing additional instruction for this, okay? All right, so the other thing is your report, all right? So for this assignment, you're gonna create a report detailing a specific visual elements that comprise the self identity of the nation. Remember, you want to know how Italians feel about Italians, not about themselves, right? As Italians. You don't want how Chinese people view Italians, all right? Because that's not probably going to be true. You want the real stuff. So we're calling this self-identity of a nation other than China, because you need to, you're going to be traveling someplace else. So make sure that you're looking into a culture outside of China that would be visiting China, okay? For this assignment, you create a report detailing specific visual elements that comprise a self-identity of a nation other than China that you have chosen to target with your tourism advertisement. You may choose any country, nation, or people as your targeted audience. Your report should detail all of the elements that you found in your research about your audience. Elements that I'm going to give you some examples of, but you may find additional ones. But these are just some examples of what to look for. Who are they and where? So obviously, are they, French and from France, right? If they are the Kurds, where do the Kurds live? They live in northern Iraq and southern Turkey and parts of Syria, right? Something like that. So who are they and where? What are their national colors? Everybody's got national colors. Yeah, and they're very easy to find. All right. What are their national colors, their national symbols, shapes, values, and emotions? What does that mean? Every culture is known for having a demeanor or a certain bit of emotion, right? Americans are outgoing, gregarious, loud, boisterous, look everyone in the eye, right? We're kind of our emotions tend to be happy, right? You know, a little bit drastic, right? We're kind of we're either going to give you a hug or we're going to punch you in the face, right? So we seem a little bit unstable or something, right? Like to a lot of people, Americans seem almost stupid, right? Like because we're so kind and we say hello to everybody and we wave and we talk to strangers and we do these things. And oftentimes, a lot of cultures perceive this as behavior of someone who is lesser or stupid or a little bit ridiculous, right? But as an emotion, we have this kind of we're very caring. We're caring people. We like to help other people. Now we have lots of countries we don't help and lots of problems as well. But overwhelmingly, this is kind of the emotion of us, right? We think of Latin cultures and Latin places as being romantic and sensual and passionate about things, right? We think of many Asian cultures, but particularly Chinese, as calculated and disciplined and these types of very easily ashamed or embarrassed or losing face, right? So these are kind of the emotional appeals of people, right? We think of in the West of Japanese culture as incredibly steeped on honor, and anything that would be dishonoring would be, just the most horrible stuff, right? So they're emotionally very serious, right? Germans are very robotic, very and now this is not true. These are just kind of stereotypes, but they are true on a huge scale. They're just not true for every individual. All right. But this is the type of stuff that we're looking at. So you're going to create a report. I basically just want you to tell me what are the elements that you found that you think are going to make for an excellent advertisement, and start to put that advertisement together. Then go to your report. So the report is compiling the research, but that's really your notes. You're going to build the advertisement, right? And so that you have what you found interesting in your research, you're going to put that in the advertisement. And then in your report, you're going to go into extreme detail as to why you chose every single thing about that particular, those particular elements, design elements, the colors, the shapes, the fonts, the pictures, whatever the heck it is that you put into your advertisement. You're going to explain to me why you chose that and the cultural relevance of it in your report. This is a report, not an essay. I've given you the template. Check it out. And as long as you follow that template, it should be very, very simple and easy. No more than 3 pages. I can't imagine why you would need that much. But it should be about a page or 2 at the most, I would think, but no more than 3. Okay? If you have questions, comments, or concerns, I expect to see you at office hours asking questions and stuff like that, or shoot me an email. If I don't return your email within 24 hours, Monday through Friday, or Monday through Thursday, or within 48 hours, Friday through Sunday, shoot me another email and let me know, because email that doesn't always work, isn't always great. I have no access to WeChat anymore, unfortunately, and I have a tremendous amount of emails coming in. So I'm never ignoring you. Always do make sure to send me a follow-up if you haven't heard from me in about 48 hours, or if it's during the week in 24 hours. All right. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. I hope you enjoy this. This should be a lot of fun. You should have a really good time with this. And, use your hometowns. I'd love to know a little bit more about your little part of China if you're not from Beijing, but you don't have to. All right. Have a great week, everyone. Questions, comments, concerns, reach out. Otherwise, I assume you know exactly what you're doing. All right. Bye-bye.